Hello, nerds. Welcome to GeekBeast, part of the Geekish Network. This is your daily rundown of geek news from geeks like you. It is Monday, and I am your host, Summer Punch. With me, we have a Chucketh.
What's up? A Chucketh cometh.
A Chucketh is a hero. And Centel.
Yo, what's cracking, baby? Happy Monday.
Let's Monday,
guys.
The
How was
new
your guys'
week.
this weekend? Anything interesting? Anything fun? Anything fun?
Yeah. A lot of flights.
Not fun?
A flight.
A flight? That's
Flight
one too
for
many.
business.
You know what?
Yeah,
I'm over flights now
flight
as an
for
adult.
business.
Used to be fun,
Yeah.
not anymore. Okay.
It used to be fun, right? What happened to
yeah.
flights being fun? Traveling was more fun than it was a chore.
Yeah. When I was a little kid, when we would be flying across, like we'd fly from the US to a place in the Middle East, which I won't say where. My family would always they would make sure that we were dressed to the nines. You know, they'd be like, you're going to wear a nice outfit. You're going to look decent on the plane. You're going to be civilized.
Yes.
And despite the rules, flights were fun, even though my dad is a pilot. So we flew all the time, but it didn't matter. We always came dressed prepared. That's not a thing anymore. I don't know.
It used to be though. That used to be the thing. You would almost have to wear a suit to get on the plane. Back in the day,
suits all the time.
It was a full blown thing. Then you could, back that's also you could also smoke cigars on the plane too back then. But it was a full blown. Yeah, it was a full blown event. It was
and have
spectacle.
a cocktail at a bar on the plane.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe join the Mile High Club.
Now it's just I feel like fucking cattle. I feel like less than cattle. Cattle are probably treated better than we are on planes. They just herded in one way, with the cattle prods, the electric scanner things. It's really just a shock to get the fucking line, Summer, get on the plane. Everybody's wearing sweatpants. I disagree with that. But you know what? I get the comfort level. So I don't know. I don't know how we got on this, but planes back in my day, they used to be in a van. I don't know why I turned into Foghorn Leghorn without accent, but you know what? It used to be a big thing. Now it's not so big anymore. Anyways, the glory days of traveling are far behind us. And in other news today, it's the 25th anniversary of Pokemon anime. No news there, just a fun fact. Did you know? Now you know.
No, 25th
Now
anniversary.
You know.
25 years old. Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Quarter century.
Yes. It's been drinking. It's almost as old as you. Almost. Matter of fact, it's older than you, right? It's older than you by 4 years, right?
Older than me?
Yes.
Oh, God, I love you so much. I know you. I just don't know. You're just my best friend. You say such kind things to me, and I'll take that.
4 years.
It's fairly. I'm going to be honest. I'm older than it, but not by a lot.
Yeah.
Although I wouldn't blame you if you got confused. Anyways, on to some other real news. Some hard-hitting news for the day. Kirby has now won a Grammy. Kirby, yes, the Pokemon character. Kirby has officially won a Grammy. He's an award-winning Grammy artist. Well, at least in spirit. The pink spherical creature helped earn Charlie Rosen and Jake Silverman a Grammy for the best arrangement, instrumental, or a cappella for their take on Meta Knight's Revenge from 1996 classics Kirby Superstar. The cover was originally performed by the aptly named 8-Bit Song Band to a 30 to 65 member orchestra that specializes in putting on its own special spin on video game music. And it won a Grammy. That's the hard-hitting news for today.
I'm kind of interested. Kirby Superstar. I'm kind of interested. What did they do to make that song so good that it gets the Grammy?
Honestly, I didn't know the Grammys were happening. And as far as I know, there wasn't any acts of violence on stage. So, is this newsworthy? Right? Is this really newsworthy? If Kirby's not getting slapped the shit out of, then do we really need to be talking about this? Because there's a new bar.
The shit out of Mario.
There's a new.
It's all Mario. It said, "Keep my prince's name out your mouth. Keep my prince's name out your mouth."
How do you all feel about maybe the possibility of as the video game industry grows and becomes more mainstream and far more profitable than even things such as film and music, does it seem logical that the music that is associated with such an insane platform would be considered for a Grammy?
Oh, I think for sure. Yeah. I mean, like, what's a Tetris song? Like, what?
Right.
Yeah, like there's like video game music sticks with us in a way that like, you know, there's sometimes movie soundtracks that won plenty of Grammys or other, I don't know, other songs they don't, you know. I feel like it's on par. The way that people develop video game music is very intentional too. It's not just like any random track. It's also consistently it's dynamic. So the music track will actually play and then go up or down in intensity and volume, depending on what you actually do in the game. So it's really complex the way that video game music is actually delivered in game too. I feel like none of that is actually appreciated by the public at large. Like people just think there's a video game track and it's a flat track and it goes from start to finish, but no, that's not how it works in games. Like there are like levels that they set in and like amp up depending on where you are in the game or how your speed or the intensity. It's progressive and dynamic, which I think is really cool and overlooked in video games. But yes, absolutely. Why the fuck not? I mean, I would press anybody for a reason why it shouldn't not be considered in the.
Yeah, really right. It seems like, you know, that seems like it's the most natural progression. I'm almost certain that there is during the last video game awards that there was a category for music. But until the prestige level of that particular award show reaches like, you know, Grammy, Oscar level, it would be really nice to see one of those two, you know, do a hat tip to scores and just music in general for games.
Hell yeah. Give us more awards. We need it. We need to be recognized. Yeah. I was just talking to somebody else about like how in general, okay, so like, of course, the Oscars was like, somebody got slapped. That's very newsworthy. That's very interesting. Let's talk about that, sure. But like the fact that we even talk about the Oscars, like anything when it comes, sorry, I know we have a lot of voice actors in our network of the Geekish network in general, but like anything where actors like are so overly self-congratulating of themselves, you know, where it's just like, let's give a gold medal ceremony award show for ourselves and let's make everybody watch it because we just happen to know how to put on a good show. I feel like we should share those awards with actual other industries that like, you know, like you don't see video game developers making games about the adventures of video game development, right? Because we have enough humility to know that nobody fucking cares about us. Like we're trying to entertain you guys. We're not trying to make you guys self-obsessed with us. Anyways, so yes, I think we should give more awards to video game industry and all the other under-recognized industries where there are brilliant professionals everywhere. And maybe the professionals in industries where they don't know how to hype themselves up and put on great, beautiful narratives about themselves because it is not the craft that they're focused on, i.e. actors. So, end rant or no? Feel free to join in. Does that make sense? Was that coherent? I don't even know.
Yeah. Like, I think a lot has to do with video game industry doesn't care. They like, we're about that money. We'll be quiet as y'all want us to be quiet. Like in 2020, it made $57 billion. That's more than both Hollywood and the music industry combined. They're like, oh, you can have all your awards. Keep them. You know, there's no trophies for what we do.
Yeah. Yes. I don't disagree with you. I do think that's the most cynical way you could potentially look at it. You know, like think about the good old days of like early video game development, you know, like they weren't in it for the money. They were in it for passion, just like filmmakers are too, you know. So not all of them. Yeah, it's not always like that, but I won't say that it's wrong either. There's probably a little bit of that, just like there's a little bit of everything.
If you can throw like $500 million behind your marketing budget for your game, you're not worried about making it back at that point.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, we're going to put $500 million behind marketing this game over the next 5 years. We'll be okay. That's crazy. That's crazy. I'm pretty sure that's what Grand Theft Auto put out there. They released one game in the last 10 years. Well, two.
They're really milking it. They're really fucking milking it. Come on, guys, let's get to the other game. It keeps making money though. Just to wrap that story, the video game music industry hasn't been nominated very often for Grammys. But this one is especially timely considering the recent release of Kirby and the Forgotten Land. But then there was also another recent one. Well, not so recent. I guess it was about over 10 years ago now. So in 2011, the song Baba Yutu from Civilization 4, super old game now, won a Grammy after getting a re-release in a separate album. The Journey was nominated for the Best Score Soundtrack for Visual Media in 2012, but ended up losing to The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. So that's some little video game awards history as far as the Grammy goes.
You know what I'm not surprised by? Like NBA 2K13 was executive produced by Jay-Z, and I heard it had like literally all fresh songs. Why didn't they nominate any of those songs for Grammys?
I think you know exactly why.
You know why?
I think you know exactly fucking why.
You know why?
Just like Taylor Swift deservedly won the best video of the year when Single Ladies came out. Sarcasm.
Oh, wow.
Sarcasm. Makes me uncomfortable to side with Kanye's antics, but like I think he might have been right on that one. You know, let you finish. But
well, Single Ladies, I mean, was okay, but Taylor Swift was the hottest artist all year. I'm gonna let you finish, but Taylor Swift was the hottest artist.
Well, do you remember the choreography where she was in a ballerina, a little tutu situation, and then she was just like gyrating her hips? That was the choreography. There was like the
thing. I've never
like
seen that. That's a thing.
It was so profound. It really made me. Made me think. And the other moment in the same video where she wears some booty shorts and then gets around a bunch of other Black women and then starts twerking in front of them. I loved that as well. It was so profound. It was truly was the best video of the year.
I remember that video. I thought it was the video where
that's the one that she won. That's the one that beat Single Ladies. It was a Shake It Off video. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was a Shake It Off one. I don't know. Someone in the chat fact checked me. Defunk is already on it. Yep, I think it was Shake It Off. Confirmed by Defunk, so it's gotta be true.
It's true.
Yeah.
Oh wow. There's no way Shake It Off should ever be Single Ladies. As even a song. It should have never beat it.
It did. So anyways, I'm not going to put too much stake into what awards the Grammys give out because they're not always right. Which is crazy. I know. It's crazy.
Most of those awards
not always right.
Yeah.
In other news, Elon Musk has bought 9.2% of Twitter, just the company, amid complaints about free speech. So the Tesla CEO, Elon Musk, has now owns 9.2% of Twitter, according to a 13 gig filing release today from Bloomberg News Report. So CNBC also notes that Musk's Twitter stocks were worth $2.89 billion based on Friday's closing price. So Musk shares are classified as a passive stake, but Wedbush analyst Dan Ives told CNBC that the purchase could lead to some sort of buyout eventually. Musk had been publicly calling into question Twitter's approach to free speech. Jesus. All right. Anyways, via a poll conducted on his Twitter account on March 25th, he says free speech is essential to a functioning democracy. Do you believe Twitter rigorously adheres to this principle? The CEO asked his Twitter audience on Twitter, by the way, before noting in a follow-up tweet that the consequences of this poll will be important. That's it. That's it. And then you bought 9.2% of Twitter. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
We should all start tweeting Elon Musk's family got rich off slavery, and she just posts facts about it and see how much he cares about free speech after that.
Yeah, I mean, it's all good until people are talking about what you don't want to hear. So to kind of piggyback off of what Chuck was saying, just let's keep that same energy when it's not going your direction, and especially when it's pointed at you.
Because he got wealthy, But if my parents were South Africans that owned emerald mines during the middle of apartheid, we get wealthy too. So, there's something, and he doesn't ever address that fact. He always avoids it. He always changes the topic. He always changes the topic when people pull it up on him. So
it's not a very flattering fact about his past.
It's not.
Do you think that this almost 10% ownership now of Twitter is going to lead to any changes? Do you think he's going to press any opinions on Twitter's just, I don't know, the way that they function? Or do you feel like this is him just being a typical tech CEO and just buying shit and posting Twitter polls?
Yes.
Yes, all of the above.
Yeah.
Just yes.
Yeah, yes.
Expand.
Yeah, I think he certainly isn't one to be shy about things that are on his mind. And if he can figure out a way to control the narrative, why not? If you can invest in it in a way to control the narrative. Twitter, to me, is the fastest news on the planet. It's faster than Fox News, CNN, Reddit. There's nothing faster. Nothing breaks faster than Twitter. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon either. So why not have a say in it where that 9% stake could mean the difference between a very close vote in something? And he may be able to wield that power to tip the balance. We'll see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it seems like he's on a free speech kick lately. I don't know if he's always been about this, but earlier this month, Elon Musk said that he was a free speech absolutist after he claimed that Starlink had been told by some governments to block access to Russian news sources. And he said, "We will not do so unless at gunpoint." I just don't know if he's picking the right side of history right now. Like, pick your battles. I just don't feel like this is like, nobody asked you to get in this fight, but you're doing it anyways. And it's not a good look, even if you're not wrong, like, I get it. I also believe in free speech, but am I really going to make that fight when like the advocacy side of that is like defending Russian propaganda? No, that's probably a time where I'd be like, maybe I don't want to speak up right now. Maybe this is not the best place to make a stand. But
yes, silence probably would have been a little bit more profound. But I certainly respect the fact that he's going to do with his company what he's going to do. I get that part. But you're right. Maybe just if you're going to choose to make that decision, keep your mouth shut.
Yeah. I mean, he wants a free speech space where there's free consequences too.
Well, most people.
Yeah. He's like, I want to be able to say what I want to say and nothing can happen to me because of backlash.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not how life works.
That is not how life works, ladies and gentlemen. Just because you can say what you want doesn't mean you are free of consequences. I will shout that from the highest of rooftops. Watch your mouth.
Or somebody will watch it for you.
Or somebody will watch it for you.
Will Smith. Yeah. Will Smith might watch it for you.
Watch it for you.
That means slap. Open-handed.
You'll watch a fist hit your mouth.
There's people in this world that don't give a damn about your free speech.
Yeah. It doesn't seem like consequences touch Elon Musk, though. I have to say that. I have to be honest. It doesn't feel like consequences affect him that much because he's just so rich and untouchable, and he's got this like fucking fan base that is just like stands him to the end of the earth. But Defunk said in the chat, this is a spiteful man, speaking of Elon Musk, I assume. And of course he has an agenda and he intends to exercise. I think spiteful is a really well-chosen word. For some reason, he does seem spiteful lately. He seems kind of angry in general. When I don't know, I feel like when people are talking about free speech, they tend to sound really angry all the time. It seems like he's going down a different path than he was on before. I don't know where this is leading. I don't know if it's good for him, but I think maybe somebody needs to have a very personal intervention with him and be like, hey man, the shit you're saying, it's kind of getting weird.
People that are the most beloved have a tendency to have it thrown in their face. There's a lot of people that were beloved and had it turned on them. Tiger Woods was beloved. They turned on him. Will Smith was beloved, turned on him. There's a lot of cases like this. And he's not going to be any different. It's just, he just hasn't had his day yet. He's still new on the block. He's still the young kid that's still, doing this stuff. And when it does catch up to him and he realizes that the masses do not have his back as much as he would like to believe, then it's going to be a very cold splash of reality that hits him. Live long enough to become the villain.
He's on his way. It seems like it. Yeah. On to some other news. The US will now be offering gender neutral X options on passports. So US citizens will now have the option to choose a gender neutral X marker on passports beginning April 11th this year, said the Department of State. The agency said that the X option will be available for all or for other forms of documentation next year, according to a statement from the Secretary of State, Antony Blinken. And so after thoughtful consideration of the search conducted and feedback from the community members, so community being, I guess, the United States of America, we concluded that the definition of the X gender marker on the State Department public forms will be unspecified or another gender identity, Blinken said. So this definition is respectful of individuals' privacy while advancing inclusion. I feel like there's a lot to be discussed here, right? So like passports are meant for identification, right? It's not meant as necessarily an expression of your personal identity, but rather a document in which you can be identified by. I get why we would want to have inclusion here, but I also completely see the other side of maybe a pushback against this, of like, what if I wanted to just, and I'm not saying this is necessarily the case, I don't know how one goes about advocating for the change of their gender to either man or the opposite gender, or maybe X, something that's neutral. I don't know what that process looks like. It may be more rigorous than I'm assuming, but if it's not rigorous, then like, does that mess with officials' ability to correctly identify people coming through our borders?
It's it's definitely a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
It could go a lot of different ways when it comes to identity and what you identify as compared to what you naturally start with. There could probably be some confliction. On one end, I think I'm jealous of the fact that the progression has moved so quickly for this group of people, and I'm happy for them, but there's just a bit of jealousy. I'm like, dang, man, stuff moves so quickly for that group. And things don't necessarily move as quickly for other groups. So it's just a bit of just jealousy, but I am happy. It's just like, man, I wish, my group could get some love on that same level with the speed. But I do think it is a big deal for them. I think it's a big move forward for them. But we're also talking about what you just said when you're talking about identity. It's like, well, can you do the same thing on somebody's birth certificate? I don't know. Is that a thing that can be done? Can you like change your birth certificate? I'm not trying to be an asshole. I'm just asking like just a real question. And if it's just things that you just identify as, forget the biology, it's just how you feel, then what else can be added to that passport? Can I just decide that, you know what, I feel and identify that I'm going to be a white man, and I want to put that on my documentation so that when I go to the bank, I can get this loan. Like, can I do that? Because that legally states that I don't have to check the box that I'm Black when I'm going to get this loan. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it opens like a weird Pandora's box. So on one end, I'm like, wow, way to keep moving forward for your cause. That's awesome. And then the other side of me is like, dang, I want that same kind of love. And then the other side is like a little bit more of the practical side. I'm like, well, how does that work when it comes to identity versus things that you were naturally born with? Mm-hmm. So it's still, I have those three.
The lines are not clear. Yeah.
Right.
I don't want to gloss over. There's so much that you said right there. I don't want to gloss over how sincere what you just said was, the part about the jealousy. And I feel like that is something that is often really overlooked. And I get it. I don't think I get it as much as you do in this moment, but I think it is a real part of the conversation that probably influences people's thoughts a lot more than we would like to admit. Yeah. It's emotionally driven, and we don't want to admit that our, decisions or opinions are based on emotion, but I just don't want to gloss over that. And thank you for being so raw right there, because that was not an easy thing to admit, but I think it's worth saying. And I get it's a touchy subject too. Like it is scary to say that. So I don't know. I mean, I think you guys know what I mean, right? Like it's scary to talk about this because there is so much vitriol on both sides, and you don't want to be accused of not being inclusive. Like I think anybody that watches the show gets that we are pretty fucking inclusive people. We get it, you know. But that doesn't mean that there are not a lot of really sincere questions and good questions, and that the questions shouldn't be talked about in a way that's really open and genuine. I don't know. That's all. Chuck, what do you have to say?
I mean, yeah, I see what Chantel's saying. It's like, I'm so happy for them to be able to get this, right? Then I think about all the people that can't even get a passport, that's having difficulty even to purchase a passport, that have no use of a passport. And the reason they're there is because there's a lot of other things that happen against them that are systemic, that have not been addressed in this country, that have yet to be addressed in this country, that will probably never be addressed in this country. And in order for something to have any value, it had to have something that has less value. That's how we determine value in life. For something to have high value, you have to have something of low value to compare it against.
I don't know if I agree with that, because that says that everything is a zero sum. It's a zero sum game, and I don't know if it is though.
Like, how do you separate Gucci from Walmart? It's because Gucci's perceived to have more value. A Gucci bag has more value because it costs more money, so it's more valuable. And that's because everything that's not as cost as much doesn't have the same utility. It has the same utility as any other bag. It's technically just a bag. And that's how we look at things. For something to be considered high value, in order for something to be considered high value, it has to be compared against something that's considered lower value.
Yeah, it can be compared for sure, but that doesn't necessarily make it zero sum. So maybe I'll say it in a different way. So me having rights doesn't mean that you have less rights. Is that I'm saying that would be zero sum. And I disagree. I don't think that rights are zero sum thing. I think if we all have rights, then we all have more rights.
But for me to have an advantage over you means you have a disadvantage. Like, people hate the fact, like, there's groups of people here that know they have an advantage, dislike they have the advantage, and fight against they have their advantage have. There's some people that revel in having that advantage. There's a lot of people that revel in that advantage, like saying, hey, no matter how little bit I have, I'm still better than you because I have these advantages that are given to me by the rules set up in this society. And I'm okay with just having those. Like, Puff Daddy, you can have all the money in the world you want. If I call the police on you, none of that even matters. Some people revel in that. There's a lot of people that revel in knowing that.
I'm unclear on if you agree with that, the zero sum aspect of rights, or if you're just saying it is a thing, or
it is just a thing. I know it just exists where people, it's not zero sum, but people want to feel more valuable than other people. In order to feel more valuable than other people, I have to have somebody of lesser value than me. And if something's in place that designates that for me, and I don't have to do it myself, I don't necessarily have to be the villain, it just kind of designates itself for me, then I don't have to worry about that.
So tie this back to the transgender story. I'm trying to understand what you're trying to say here.
I'm saying it's like we have this, the non-gender thing is less than 1%, right, of the nation's population. They address that problem. And I think my issue is that jealousy does come in, where I'm feeling like you're dealing with somebody that's less than 1% of the population, but you won't deal with people that are 13 to 14% of the population, 7% of the population, 4% of the population. You know, for example, there's probably more Arab people in this country than transgender people in this country that have issue with their gender and marking their gender on the passport. Like, a lot of transgender women put female down on the passport, and the passport office has to deal with it. This is the way that allows them to be in the gray area for people that are not any gender. And I think there's less non-gendered people than gendered people. You know, where transgendered, I can put woman down. If I was genetically born a man, but I changed my gender to become a woman, I can put woman down. And non-gendered is like, I'm both genders, so I'm non-gendered, or I'm both genders, so I'm so that it's a combination. You haven't defined that yet. And I think there comes a point where You address all these small problems, you need to address the bigger problems you've been facing for over 2 or 3 centuries. Like the gendering problem became more of an issue as Puritanism rose in this country and taken suit in our political structure. So as the evangelical leadership jumped into the politics and put a clamp hold on both parties, dollars being spent, gendering became an issue because they pushed against it so much. They
Mm-hmm.
were like, you're born male, you're male, you're born female, you're born female. But in the early 20s and 30s, that was not an issue. Nobody thought about it. Nobody cared. It wasn't a big enough population to influence everybody. So for me, I appreciate this. This is amazing. This is progress. But I think about the passport issue, the number of people can never ever get a passport. They never ever need to have a use for a passport. And a lot has to do with the system in which they live in.
Hmm. So what I hear you saying is that you think we need to solve some other problems before we get to something as minute as this.
Yes. I mean,
Okay.
this is an easy lift problem too, right? Where we have a political strata that celebrate they solved this problem, shows you how much progress they made. It's like winning a Grammy. It doesn't have the same. It's like winning a Grammy.
That's a very interesting comparison. I got to chew on that for a minute. Not bad.
Okay. I think that I would agree there are a lot of other things that we need to solve. I don't know if I would say first. I think that when it comes to, I think this is overall.
Also.
Yes, also.
First,
maybe
also.
Not first. Also. Yes,
Also.
agree. But everything doesn't get solved at the same time. And things don't get solved in the order of importance. And also who determines what's important, right? I think that we would probably be in alignment of what is important, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that everybody else will too. I think that like, even though this might be it might seem like a small thing in the grand scheme of things. I'm sure it doesn't seem like a small thing to the people that it affects, right? The people who don't describe or like identify as gender binary or one or the other. Sorry. I think that when we make these kind of incremental steps forward, that it makes other bigger steps also easier, right? Because change comes, I think, in little tiny steps and then big waves, and then there's backlash and then a few more little steps. But I think that a lot of little steps happens before bigger waves. I don't know if that makes sense, but basically what I'm saying is that it's momentum, that there's a certain degree of inertia when it comes to progress, right? And when things start moving forward, it kind of scoops up a lot of other progressive, I guess, wish list items. I don't know if that's really that's not demeaning to say wish list, but I don't really know if I'm making sense right now. But I feel like if some change happens, then it makes it easier. It enables more change to happen too. So I don't personally see it as like a ranking or like we should do other things first, because the reality of the world is that it just doesn't happen like that. Things do not happen in order of importance. But if change is normalized with little steps like this, or big steps, depending on who it affects, right? Then I feel like that enables more progress, more inertia, more momentum, where other things will follow.
But what is progress, right? Well, let's define what progress is. Black people have never made progress in this country. It's not for us to make. We've always been humans. We've always been loving. We've always been caring. We've always been hardworking. It is people that recognize us as humans that are making progress. It's more of them making progress, recognize others as humans, and not those that are already humans making any progress.
Damn, that is so
progress
true.
Is not
just
on
need to
us.
Absorb that for a second.
Progress is not on us. It's on them. It's on the ignorant and the racist to make progress. Saying my racism is wrong and I need to fight through this to actually provide everybody treatment as equal as me. So that's what progress is.
And they're making progress catching up to the basics of morality.
It's the basis of humanity. Of humanity. And it's like, this is another, if they form the tribe, even though you change your gender, you're still one of my tribe. So I allow you to be one of my tribe again. Because if I don't, you'll go to this other tribe who we don't want to acknowledge as being human. So there's a lot of angles to this. There's a lot of angles. It's not as simple as we want to make it to be. And there's a lot of systems at play here. You know?
I mean, it's funny to me because, I mean, something as simple as like the Voting Rights Act has to like seemingly be renewed.
Over and over.
When do white people's voting rights get renewed? And I'm just curious because I know we have deadlines and times and we have to speak on behalf of it. So I'm just curious, like when do white folks, when's it happen to white folks? No. Oh, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So it's stuff like that. It's stuff like that. You're happy.
Congress
You're absolutely happy to see other people move forward. You, of course, you know, you're a human being and you want to see other human beings do well. But there's a very human element to be like, I would like to do well too.
You guys will be very excited to know that it is now a federal hate crime to lynch somebody. Apparently, just this year, it's now.
Yes.
Now hate crime. So
like that.
Yay!
We've only been complaining about
pom-poms
for 473 years. Yeah. It's interesting because
they like, just now fucking passed that
Black
shit.
People. Yeah, it's 2022, ladies and gentlemen. It's 2022.
Conservative politicians saying, Black people, we finally hear you. After 473 years, you finally hear us? After 473 years, why would we even give you a chance to even say you hear us?
Mm.
But in short, you know, I think let's stick to the main point, and that is that it is a good thing that people of different LGBTQ plus, please forgive me if I miscorrect one of the letters, that they're making progress. I mean, nobody wants to wish ill upon anybody. Nobody wants that.
Controls things is making progress. Acknowledge them as just being human, and their gender is nobody's business. It's nobody's business. You know,
their identity is a given and is accepted.
Yeah,
here.
Just pick them.
We're just waiting for the U.S. government to catch up.
Catch up. They're trying to catch up. You're right. They're making progress.
Good job,
the
US
larger
government.
society's making progress.
You're getting somewhere, kind of. You're a little behind. Yeah. You're in the remedial class. We're gonna need to give you a little bit more tension, but you are worth the effort.
There's so many interesting things. So yeah.
But yeah. Okay. All right. Mm-hmm. Well, I think we went a little bit over, but that was worth the time though. Mm-hmm. To all the ex-gendered people out there, nothing but love from us.
Yeah, congratulations.
Nothing but love for us.
And that's facts. That is.
Also, can you pick us up along the way towards progress? We need
stick your hand out. For real. Just
you can really use the nice new car you have.
Pull the people along that you get true progress. Keep pulling them along with us.
Yeah, this is a team sport. Don't forget us.
It's a team sport.
It is. That to me is the quote. It's a team sport.
It's a team sport.
You know, little help over there.
Yeah. You're the MVP this year, but don't forget us.
The hardest wars.
The participation awards.
Yeah, the hardest wars are never on one stage. They're on a lot of stages.
All right, guys. Well, that is it for the news tonight. We're on podcast form. If you guys haven't been listening to us, I'm blowing this podcast thing up because I've been listening and we are really good. And if you are listening to us right now on podcast form, guess what? We also have a YouTube show. We live stream on Facebook and YouTube. We did on Twitch for a while, but that's not a thing right now. No, I don't know. This is weird because you guys are on YouTube right now. Whatever. All right, I'm just trying to play both sides. All right. Podcast, listen to YouTube, the other way around. Anyways, I think that's enough for me. I'm going to cut myself off now. We'll see you guys tomorrow on GeekBeast. Bye-bye.
Absolutely. Peace out.